Hi. Today I'd like to talk about simplicity. Simplicity essentially in the design of products. Simplicity in product design is not something that we're necessarily blessed with at the moment. I think we've all come across this kind of situation. This was really prompted by the iDrive system that BMW installed in their cars to try and make controlling different functions in the car easier. But ended up with a system which is very difficult to understand, very difficult to operate, complicated in terms of the number of steps that you went through. So customers using the BMW iDrive are very frequently frustrated by not being able to get access to the many features that the iDrive system controlled. And this is really a symptom of something that people refer to as feature bloat. Feature bloat is really a situation where adding features is easier than working out whether or not they're actually necessary. And sometimes it's because the thought is that they're easy to add, somebody will value them. The more features a product has, then the more useful it's going to be, and the more useful it's going to be perceived to be. This is really a bit of a fallacy. This was summed up, or the difference between features and benefits is something that was summed up by a colleague of mine, Curly Lee from the Entrepreneurship Centre, who described that features are what a product does, benefits are what you value. Features cost you, benefits reward you. So there is no inherent benefit in features. It's the benefits that they actually give you rather than their existence, which are things that you value. My dishwasher at home features 12 different wash programs. It features 4 different wash temperatures, and it has a noise level of about 45 decibels. Those are the features. The benefits, what I really value in that particular machine, is that it gets dishes really clean, it's quick and relatively quiet, and it has fairly low running costs. I only actually ever use one of the programs on the machine. I only ever use one of the wash temperatures, so the legends on those buttons are getting worn out, all the other ones are sitting there. Other people have looked at the correlation between features and user happiness. This is a graph drawn by Kathy Sierra, who invented the concept of the suck threshold. The suck threshold on this graph is really the point at which the number of features that exist in the product, that's the bottom line of the graph increasing towards the right. User happiness increases up to a certain point where you think it's good. Below that point it sucks, and as you go further around the curve, increase the number of features, at some other point, some future point, it'll suck because there are too many features. So the suck threshold is the point where you need to be to achieve the best correlation between the number of features and user happiness. And Kathy went on to define more of the activities that go on around these curves, so that as number of features and user happiness increase, you go through stages of saying, I wish this thing did more, like the fact that they added this is cool, I really get on with this thing, I'm happy, I'm at the peak of the featureitis curve. Beyond that point, the number of features starts to have a different effect on you. I better look at the manual to find out how to operate these things that I now know exist. Where is that? Where do I find that in all the possibilities that exist? And sometimes the confusion of many features means that the one simple thing you wanted the product to do doesn't actually happen. You can't make that happen easily. And what then happens is you blame yourself for not being able to make all those features work. It's not a good situation to be in. Philips, the Dutch home appliance and medical company, has a program called Sense and Simplicity, which they've been applying for the last 10 years or so to try and introduce some rationality into the design of the things that they make. And it's the design of electronic products and computer products, software and so on, where featureitis is the biggest problem. So Philips identified that in the past, this is the top of these 3 diagrams, things were simple and didn't really do very much, but life was simple as well. The second phase, the kind of intermediate phase, the diagram in the middle, things got more complicated. Things got to be able to do more things, but at the price of complication and finding your way through lots of different menus and options and different sorts of control things. And in the future, what they're aiming for through the Sense and Simplicity program is that products will be equally capable but way more intelligent, so you don't have to decide how to operate those features. The products themselves will identify which features and which kind of performance is best for that particular situation and choose that without you having to get involved. The Japanese have a word katashi, which means the essential simplicity of fabricated objects. And it's really looking at how something can be fit for its purpose, elegant, economic, minimal, and so on. The best examples from Japanese goods are actually those developed in the folk crafts, where the degree of invention, refinement of particular kind of fabrication, making techniques is significant, but it's also informed by a pattern of use of these kind of tools and pieces of equipment which refine their performance and mean that they're appropriate for their purpose and the materials for which they're made from. And that gets carried through into the design of other objects which don't come directly from that folk tradition. This stool, designed by Yanagi Sori, is one example of a very simple, economical, elegant device, a stool for sitting on which evokes butterfly wings and angels and all sorts of other stuff. And Japanese designers are particularly good at making the simple complex and effective. Naoto Fukusawa, who's a designer who used to work for IDEO in Japan but now practices on his own, is particularly good at taking the essence of objects and producing something which is minimal, interesting, has a particular kind of emotive connection with the user, describes what it actually does in an interesting and a very particular way, and sets off all sorts of connections between users and the objects that we use, that he designs. This is a humidifier, which is this is about 12 inches in diameter. It has a peculiar kind of blob shape that's vaguely suggestive of something to do with liquid, but we're not really quite sure what. But that connection between that shape and something which alters humidity in the air is one which is particularly useful. He also took the simple office shredder, which is a machine that sits in the corner of the office and chews up paper, and looked at reinterpreting it so that it becomes something which just sits on a standard waste paper bin. It essentially processes paper as it goes into the waste paper bin. And that's the kind of idea which connects with the function of the product and is also entertaining and enlightening in itself. Sam Hecht, who's a designer who works for various computer companies in the USA, makes the strong point that anything which looks too deliberate or full of effort in terms of how it's arisen is not going to be a simple and ideal commodity. One example of the same sort of focused approach being applied in a different area is Deborah Adler, who's a student at the Minneapolis Institute of Art, and came up with the idea of following a particular incident with her family where one of her grandparents took the wrong medicine. She looked at the design of medicine bottles and said these could work much more effectively and be a lot simpler. So she designed, initially on her own and then working with Target, the new Target Clear RX bottle. It has a coloured ring so you can identify which bottle belongs to you. It has a flat surface on which the instructions and the prescription information is contained. So it's easier to read for people who have got failing sight or under stress and so on. So a very simple idea carried out extremely effectively. And something that has been described by these words, vujade. Vujade is something so obvious you think it must have existed before, but it didn't. Thank you.